Oh, well.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's edition of the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where we give our petty and ill-informed opinions about whatever we feel like talking about. Joining me, as always, Kevin.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? How's it going, Richard?
Not bad at all. Tom said he might pop in. Well, he said he would pop in. I'm taking that as might. He's not here now, and it's show time, so we're going ahead.
Well, if I'm going to pop in, I would imagine that I would have popped in by now.
Yeah, I mean, you're punctual.
Well, you have to think. I mean, popping in anymore might cause you a lot of problems depending on what state you live in.
Oh, God, are we already starting?
No. I was just, no, it was like pop, Jack in the Box, pop goes the weasel. How could you imagine that I was going to talk about a topic that is just not important to a lot of people?
Well, listen. There's obviously been a massive thing that happened this week, and we are going to talk about it, obviously, because it's a massive deal to America and indeed the rest of the world.
Yes.
There he is.
Yeah.
He's in. You're live. We're live, by the way, Tom. So.
Yep. Sorry, I'm late, guys. Very poor form on my part.
It's all right. We already bitched you out. Anyway.
No, I mean, I look at it like this. The type of thing that goes. I mean, the very fact that.
Hold on, Kev. Let me finish the intro.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Right, so yeah, obviously something massive happened that affects America and the rest of the world. We are going to talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. And that is, of course, the news that after decades of suffering needlessly, the porn of the twisted Jodie Foster, John Hinckley Jr., was finally released this week, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, I'm not sure that's the biggest news to come from America this week.
No,
it's massive.
The biggest news was that Mick and Janine Mick finally slipped Janine the Cockney sausage.
That was 3 weeks ago.
No, it was not.
It was. It wasn't this week.
Are you sure?
This week was about Nancy leaving. Come on, man.
Oh,
if you're gonna watch the current week. But anyway, yeah.
No, I did watch. Okay, I thought that wasn't very long ago because Nancy's accident wasn't that. It was after Nancy's accident, and Nancy just got out of the hospital, or what you may call it, Linda.
Yeah.
All right, doesn't matter.
Moving on. So John Hinckley Jr. has been released from the mental asylum where he's been held. Finally, he has been pronounced sane and safe and ready to rejoin civilization. And thank God, it's time we as a nation focused on the true enemy, Jodie Foster. Yeah, exactly, Gabby. Is she going to marry him now that he suffered for 4 years? Because that was the whole reason he did it, to marry Jodie Foster.
Well, the funny part about it is, and I will say this, and it's, as much as everybody says that I randomly go from one thing to another, because Jodie Foster is married. She already is. To a lady, of course. And that brings into the question of, will she be married? I mean, you never know. John Hinckley could have a big, a thing on his thing because the Supreme Court obviously might come in and just say, oh, ping, bang, boom, you can't get married anymore because you're gay. So therefore, we could nullify her gay marriage there, and she could get married to John Hinckley Jr. So there you have it.
Or they could go the other way and say polygamy is completely fine, and he could get married to her, and she could stay married to her wife.
Oh, there you go. I never thought about that. I never thought about the fact that the old polygamy might come back in. Why not?
It's fundamentally Mormon.
Well, I understand that, but here's the thing. I don't think that, the Mormon Church said a long time ago that whenever it became the issue of whether the Mormon Church could do it, they actually broke into two different pieces: the Fundamentalist Church and the Church of Latter-day Saints, where it's not okay to be. You can't You can't have multiple wives anymore in the actual, mainly accepted Mormon church. But if you're a splinter group, then have at it, apparently.
Sage wisdom from a group of people that genuinely believe a con man read religious writings from golden tablets only he could see in a hat.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's a valid thing. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that, at a certain point in time, you know, an old relative of mine, right whenever Mormonism started, they came to Ireland, and my relative left the village and went to Salt Lake and became like actually was a big guy in the Mormon church there for a while. Find it in newspaper in Utah and all that. And, you know, I'm saying, so maybe he thought it was seductive. I'm saying a lot of people think maybe the idea of marrying a couple of women is a great idea. I personally think I wouldn't want that much trouble.
I can barely handle one girlfriend. Two, just it would break me emotionally, physically break me.
Well, everybody
Tom,
always.
you're married. Would you want another wife?
No, no, I wouldn't.
It's the correct answer.
I have a friend who is poly, and I have absolute complete admiration for her choice and her husband's choice for them to live that lifestyle. It works for them. They legitimately love each other and other people, but I wouldn't want to do it because it takes enough effort, time, emotional energy to keep things very steady and level within my household with my beautiful darling wife. And the thought of having to double that, I mean, when problems hit, it's, you have to work hard to fix things. And the thought of that happening twice as often because you're in two relationships or something, it's just no way. So for that, even if you could sort of navigate any kind of jealousy or imbalance or, having emotional complications and, not, being in danger of leaving your primary, the person you own and share a house with and the person you've got children with, the thought of earning many wifey points, the thought of even if you could navigate all of that, just the sheer emotional weight alone, no thanks.
No, okay, Tom's.
I think
Kevin, you're married. Would you have another wife?
no.
No.
I wouldn't, simply because of the fact that the way that as I said, I'm not Christian. I'm a Druid, and the way that the way that we got married is that we got married for time immemorial. Doesn't matter, not till death do us parts, forever. So I mean, I couldn't take that other spirit along. You know what I mean? I don't need it. Well, that's the first thing. And second thing I would have to say is that, although I do see marriage from a secular standpoint as a a contract. It's a legal contract, really. I mean, the reason that you're going down to the registry office and or the courthouse and putting your marriage in on the books is for legal purposes. That's it. You know what I mean? And so that's where I think the secular marriage, as far as I'm concerned, should be that way. But Tom's right in the fact that if you can only marry one person, then you've got this primary, secondary, tertiary issue of the wives that you've got. And so legally, in law, one person is more protected than the other. So, I mean, I think that if you're going to do that, that you should just be able to form like a marriage corporation that says, okay, you're all equal shareholders in this. So therefore,
the marriage public.
Well, no, I'm just saying. Well, no, I don't think you should be able to. I share that. But what I'm saying is from that standpoint,
Kevin's marriage LTD.
well, well, the thing about it is that you should be able to get some sort of a situation where if three people buy the house or whatever contractually, that they should all have reasonable expectation to get out of it. Otherwise, you're creating a master servant situation. And some people are into that.
Okay, well, we're learning all sorts of things about Kevin tonight.
No, I'm trying to look at it from a legal standpoint. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody.
Hey, no kink shame here, man. No kink shame.
No, I'm not a dominator. If anything, I would probably like to be dominated, but anyway, who cares? I mean, I'm not saying I haven't been choked out before.
So much to be unpacked here. So
much. Well, I'm saying
Nikki's going to feel really bad that she missed this one.
Well, as far as I'm saying, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to go. I'm very, very sort of raw about the announcement yesterday, and I don't know how far to take it. You know what I mean? I don't know how.
What are you talking about? John Hinckley was released.
That. I mean, the idea. Well, in some cases, a few women find that they were legally subservient to the dictates of other people, and if they felt like that, then
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
Big news on Werewolf was John Hinckley Jr. being released.
Well, there you go. It's just one of those things. Like I said, people that are in the but we don't know that he's not quote unquote cured, right? I mean, how many years ago was that? I mean, that was like 80s, literally 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's put it this way. If you would have shot a dude on the street and killed him, that wasn't the president, you would have gotten out by 9 more likely than not.
Yeah, but he never went to jail. He was in a mental institution.
No, I understand that, but you see what I'm saying, though. I mean, if you just randomly shoot a guy on the street, you get what, 40 years, and you get down to 20 years.
Murder too.
Yeah.
Manslaughter. Yeah. It's like 20 to lot, isn't it?
Yeah. So you get out. You get in 20 years. You just do your time and you get out. He actually did double than that. So from a standpoint of that, you could have said if he was charged as a criminal, he probably would have been out 20 years ago.
A lot of people thought he should be charged as a criminal, but I say anyone that's going to shoot the President of the United States to impress a 12-year-old deserves to be in a mental asylum.
Jodie Foster wasn't 12 at the time, was she?
Yeah, the taxi driver, she was 12. She was playing a 16-year-old. I understand
that,
but she was 12.
Well, everybody was 12 when they were 12.
Yes, very astute, Kevin.
Well,
amazing wisdom there from Kevin. Everyone was 12 when they were 12.
Well,
brilliant, amazing. Tom, can you top that pearl of wisdom?
Oh, not hugely. I'm not feeling particularly philosophical tonight.
I don't think anyone can top that, Kevin. I think you're going to win the award for best refrigerator magnet quote ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was like almost a Baldrickism. I
don't think even Baldrick would be that stupid. Come on, man. Everyone was 12 when they were 12. What the hell?
Well, you see, this is the type, that's just how Irish people have to look at the world, in a way. There was an old Irish. There was a commercial for, I think it was, can't remember what it was. Had a wee Irish guy in it though, and it was like, it's like having a drink with your ex-girlfriend. On the one hand, it was your ex-girlfriend, but on the other hand, she's your ex-girlfriend. No, you see, an Irish mind can completely understand the differences and the similarities of that statement. But if you talk to some people, they just look at you like you're fucking nuts. You know what I mean?
Run that by me again.
It's
Again.
like having a drink with your ex-girlfriend. Okay. On the one hand, she's your ex-girlfriend, but on the other hand, she's your ex-girlfriend. You see what I'm saying?
No, I don't, honestly.
Well, on the one hand, you used to love her. You've had sex with her. She was your buddy. She was your pal. And on the other hand, you broke up. She's your ex-girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
God. On one hand, it's an easy lay. On the other hand, it's very complicated. You get it out of.
Yes. Richard is living close
Oh.
enough to the Celtic diaspora, the Celtic fringe, to understand what it means.
I see. If going out for a drink, if sex is implied, then it makes perfect sense.
Well, if you're going out with a drink and a woman, if you're going out with a drink with a lady and you're Irish and she's your ex-girlfriend, sex is implied.
Okay, but then that makes sense. Well, she's your ex-girlfriend, so you've done it before, so you may as well do it again.
Yeah.
But then she's your ex. Then there's probably a good reason for that on some level.
Right.
So when you put it in the context of what having a drink implies, then yes, that double meaning suddenly falls clearly into place.
Right.
All right. Are we all clear? Plus, Gary, you may be all paranoid, so I had to Google it. Yeah, Jodie Foster was definitely 12 when Taxi Driver was filmed.
No, I'm not. Okay, yeah, but when Taxi Driver was filmed, was not the same time that John Hinckley shot Reagan, is my point.
Well, he shot her because of her appearance in Taxi Driver.
Oh, okay. All right. Not the other Disney movies that she was in?
No, he legitimately said because of her performance in Taxi, he fell in love with that and he shot President Reagan.
Yeah. But nobody
that
ever...
was some Roman Pulaski shit right there.
Yeah. But nobody ever...
Yeah, exactly, Gabby. Why else would you have drinks with your ex?
Well, that's how I look at it, you know. I'm saying, you know, by yourself. I mean, I don't know. I would think that I mean, let's put it, you know, like I said, I'm going to shut up about it because I think I'm going to get myself in trouble.
Yes. We'll talk about your little thing in a minute. But we're discussing John Hinckley first.
What, my little thing? I didn't want to talk about it.
Kevin, you've been trying very hard to change the topic to it for the last 20 minutes.
What, my thing?
Yeah, your thing.
It's small and nobody likes it.
Uh-huh. Anyway.
Ring-a-ding-ding, let's talk about my thing.
So, yeah, okay, yeah. Let's talk about it because it happened. So, Roe v. Wade, then.
Well, I think we're probably going to go into a lot of detail with this when Nikki is back, because I want to talk about it a bit, but I'm most looking forward to hearing what Nikki has to say, because she is both American and a woman.
A lady,
whereas me being an English man, I think there's
allegedly a woman,
limited authority with which I can speak on the matter.
Well, clearly, here's the thing. You've got three people who have citizenship in Britain. That's me, you, and Richard. We are all British citizens. I'm an American citizen as well as an Irish citizen. I mean, it's a weird thing, but in the whole scheme of things, we're all men. But my initial reaction to it is that it doesn't. I mean, the overturning of Roe versus Wade just makes this a state's issue. So some people are acting like, okay, well, that's the end of abortion, which it isn't, right? It's not. So now you've got a patchwork of places that you can get an abortion and the places you can't. Okay, so I look at it from the standpoint of when I was growing up, you couldn't get an abortion in Northern Ireland. You had to go, or Ireland, you had to go to England to get one, right? Quote unquote, taking the boat to Liverpool. We all know what that meant. It meant you were going for the weekend to get an abortion, and then you were coming back, you know? So I've lived in a situation where this is the thing, and I'm just saying, it doesn't it doesn't. It's not you know, somebody might look at it and say, okay, it's a moral victory, blah blah blah, and everything like that. How is it? You know, you haven't outlawed abortion in the world. You've outlawed it in some states, and criminalized it in some states. That's the thing that bothers me, right? Now it's a question of, okay, now you can go to jail if you have an abortion. And technically, since some states have said, in the case of rape and incest, um, you can't have an abortion. That's true in some states. Okay, so now it could be that your rapist actually goes to prison, if at all, less than the person who terminates the pregnancy as a result of that rape, who can now go to jail for 5 to 15 years. Perfect. Now, that screams injustice to me. I mean, call me crazy. So all I'm saying is that it's not, if anything, it really is, in my opinion, a legal fuck up on the standards of I don't know what, you know. So again, you know, if you're in Washington State or California or Oregon or certain states like that, you're fine. You can go down the road and get one. If you're in another state, you're just creating issues of termination tourism, brother. That's all it is. That's what you've created. You've created in the 21st century the boat to Liverpool.
Yeah. Oh, it's this thing is so complicated. I truly believe every woman has the right to choose for themselves. Um, I am normally on complex issues. I sit on the fence, and I can see both sides clearly. And I'm really glad I've not had to make the decision for myself in my lifetime. Once an ex of mine and I had a pregnancy scare, and we were very young. There was no way we'd have been able to raise a child. And I don't, if she'd have been pregnant, I don't know what we would have decided to do. But abortion definitely would have been on the table. And who knows? I am glad I've not had to make that decision, because it's a big decision, and I can see the pro-life argument, but for me, the pro-choice argument wins out. It just does, because there's so many different circumstances, so many complications. The most telling thought for me is the absolute horror of backstreet abortions. Nothing makes me feel more, that even as a man, that still turns my stomach. So
Yeah.
that for me is the final decider.
Right. I agree with you. But to me, this isn't an abortion issue. I mean, as much as everybody wants to make this an abortion issue, it isn't. Because for me, it's a standpoint of, again, it's not about the morality of having abortion or not. They didn't say that was true. They didn't say it was immoral. They didn't say it was illegal. They just said the states need to decide, right? So the states now are deciding whether it's a moral issue or not. I mean, but here's the thing. You don't have a standard, so you don't understand. Um, like I said, from that standpoint, it's, you take away the standard of what was accepted as true and divide it up into different states. So then again, it's a locational thing, and that's the issue. Now, like I said too, this is the issue. Now, the argument that they said was, as well, abortion has not been, you know, baked into the Constitution, so therefore, you know, that's not an issue that, you know, has been something that they thought about. So we don't know what the founding fathers thought about it, et cetera, et cetera. So therefore, we can overturn it. It's not part of the fabric of the American Constitution. Okay, that's fine. You can make that argument. That's the argument they're making. But then again, there's lots of other issues that are not inculcated into the American Constitution. And when at a certain point, I mean, that's the thing that bothers me is if the ability to um, make these decisions are now states' rights issues, then be prepared for some states to say, um, well, if you're, I mean, I would imagine that since this is the issue of the day, and somebody just they recently said, okay, based on the privacy issue, blah blah blah, uh, homosexual marriage is allowed. Don't be surprised if some state very very quickly comes up with a thing that says, no, we're going to change that, and so then that becomes a state issue again. It was a state issue before, and it'll become a state issue again. So again, we're going to have some states that'll say you can't get married if you're homosexual. So then what happens then? If you move to that state, you have to get, I mean, again, this is the legal part of it. Um, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with interracial marriage? I mean, I'm sure some southern states would be like, okay, let's just go ahead and do. I mean, to me, I mean, the argument behind gun control, which actually got a little bit of a boost. In other words, and I said this tongue in cheek, and made a lot of people pissed off. But I said that the firearms now have more rights than women in America. I mean, it's almost true. Now you can carry a fucking gun anywhere. You know what I mean? Why not? Let's go for it. But the states have to decide that whether you can have an abortion or not. So that's fine. But how long is it before you're going to need papers to go to another fuck? If you're a woman, are we there? Let me see your papers. Are they going to whenever you go from Oregon to California, you have to stop and declare whether you have any fruit in your car from any other place. You have to get rid of it. You can't bring fruit because of the apple worm or something like that. You can't take fruit into certain parts of California because that protects their agricultural. I mean, are we not going to have sort of states that put up blockages and stop you at the state line, and then if you're a woman, makes you take a fucking pee test to determine whether you're freaking pregnant or not? I mean, this is a privacy issue to me. It's not an abortion issue. It's a privacy issue. And at this point in time, we've allowed at least to half the population in America the right of the government to stick their finger up your ass and root around in there. Or, well, not your ass per se, your vagina. And I think that that's absolutely fucking crazy. It's crazy. That is on the scale of Nazism, in my opinion. That is freaking totalitarianism. And everybody will say, well, it's about the baby. It's about the baby. Okay, well, that's fine. Yard a 10-week-old fetus, which isn't probably even a fetus, out of a woman and put it in an incubator and see if it lives. It doesn't live. It's not viable at that point in time. That's my opinion. And it's true. You can't support it. So that's fine. It's not about whether it's right or wrong, in my opinion. It's a moral issue that I can't make the decision for other people for. But that's exactly the point. I can't make the decision for other people.
No, I agree, Kevin. I agree.
Other people feel that they have the right to make that decision. And I'm also going to say that if you look back to the Founding Father days, there's a lot of remedies on how to abort things using plants and other things like that. So, this is it. Are we going to go back to the herbal remedies that you can use to abort things? And what happens if you miscarry in a state that says you can't terminate a pregnancy? Are you going to have to bring the fetus down, explain, make a statement at at your thing that says I was in the second trimester, I had a miscarriage, so therefore here's the fetus and everything else, and I didn't kill it. Are you going to have to swear on the Bible that you didn't terminate that pregnancy? I mean, nobody thinks about this crap, right? Nobody thinks about the fact that when you criminalize it, then a woman's right to even have a miscarriage without telling the freaking world is called into question.
Right.
Well, I mean, would you want to do that? It's like, okay, it would. I mean, it's like the next time I get a hemorrhoid and my ass hurts or whatever. Do I have to go down and register that fucking hemorrhoid with the city government so that I don't go to jail? I mean, this is what I'm talking about. You know,
This
technically,
kind of legislation.
yeah, technically, cancer is a living thing in your body.
It is.
I
That's
mean,
true.
yeah, right. There's more cancerous cells that at 10 weeks than there is, that are in a fetus. What am I going to have to register that whenever I take it out?
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point.
But I'm saying this is not about logic. That's all I'm saying. This is about an emotional thing, and I think that it has. I mean, if you look into the Bible, why biblically all these issues were true was that the 12 tribes of Israel were very small, and you had to breed to get out of that. The only way you were going to breed to get out of the scenario was that. Now, the Nazis figured that out too, that you needed to have population of a certain type to, fill up the Lebensraum, free land and all this other shit. That you were going to have to do that, and since the since the Second World War, the size of families have shrunk. Population growth has is stagnated in the United States. That's part of the decision there too.
Yeah.
Is that because of the fact that there's other people that are going to come here? The population demographics are changing, so we have to use some other thing to make sure that we have. I mean, it's some people have compared this to that book with the what's that with the people with the red things and the white caps or whatever, the whatever that is. The last time that somebody came up with
The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, The Handmaids. I've never read it. I've watched part of it, and then I thought this is too sick for words, and I'm not going to watch it. But it's but again, this is a situation. We'll just have to see. As with everything, there's a tendency to either over triumphalize it or over dramatize it. The only time to see what happens is putting some distance between it and what happens to see how good or bad it is or whatever. You're just going to have to wait. But I think part of the issue that I will say is this: when there is this much uncertainty about things, that's when people get violent. And I mean, again, this is an issue where I think in a lot of ways you're going to see. I mean, I remember whenever, in the 80s and everything like that, there was quite a lot of abortion clinic bombings and things like that. I mean, from the Right to Life folks, there was a lot of types of things like that. People who were going after, abortion doctors, killing them. That's obviously something that happened at a certain point in time. Now, given the fact that we're all human beings, I can see the people who now restrict once you take if you never had the right, then that's one thing, right? You don't have an expectation. But once you take away a right from somebody, they get seriously aggrieved. And who at that point in time cannot say that there are, since women are supposedly emotional and crazy anyway, and now you can carry a gun no matter where you want to in the freaking United
Oh,
States.
don't, man. Oh,
I mean,
oh,
I'm not saying I'm not, all I'm saying is can I see it happening? Yes. Do I think it should happen? No.
mm. I've got two thoughts, if I may, Kevin. Now, my first thought is this: um, where exactly life begins is not an objective truth that some people know and some people don't. It is a different point of view. Now, I'm not sure even what my own point of view is. I don't know when even, let alone objectively, because there isn't one. I don't even know subjectively what I believe. I don't have no idea what I think about when life begins. I do not know. It is a gradual process of emergence. There's no defining point where which it is or isn't alive for me. There isn't one. It's like something is a slope, and you say, where is the point on it? Well, there isn't one. So that's why I'm glad that I haven't had to face the choice in my lifetime. But everybody needs to decide for themselves. I really do believe that anyone who does think they know where a point is, where life does or doesn't begin, and then thinks they've got the right to tell everybody else exactly what that is and make laws that enforce where you think it is and the massive implications that has on other people's lives. That is just so morally wrong. Interestingly, I can't verify instantly. I don't have the source around me, but there was a poll in America recently that implied that I think it was 37% of Americans support this. 37% support the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And the implications of all these states. These states have had trigger laws set up so that the moment this decision was made, their laws would be in immediate effect. It's oh dear, oh, and which does indeed, Kevin, as you say, just all you achieve is you set up the boat to Liverpool again.
Yeah.
So I think that was my biggest thought, is that I don't think anybody has the right to tell anybody else exactly when life does or doesn't begin. It's just not your decision to make.
Right. And see, this is a very, very interesting sort of middle of the road. It's like, look at it. I mean, because we don't know, we don't think we should tell people. This is a very sort of middle way approach to it, Tom. And I'm really glad that you bring it up, because of the fact that at this point in time, the middle of the road, sort of understanding the nuances of life approach in America is totally off the books. You can't do it. It's an extremist view. America has become ruled by extremists of one set or the other. The average American who just goes down the road and says, okay, do this for yourself. I don't know, so therefore I'm not going to tell you what to do, which is the way it is with the majority of people, is not, as a person who is, who sees themselves as a person who can say this type of situation or this type of situation makes it different. That's not welcome. I mean, you've seen that on this program where people will say, well, which of the two Kevins are we getting today? Are we getting the Kevin who believes this or the Kevin who believes that? I know you're getting the Kevin who believes what it is, who understands that life is complicated and therefore has opinions that are somewhat times not logical, in the sense that I can be opposed to this and for this and opposed to this or whatever. It doesn't go that way with me. Okay, that's because of life experience. Nobody has lived the life that I've lived. Nobody has lived the life that Richard has lived. Nobody has lived the life that anybody in any individual audience member has lived. So therefore,
especially Gabby.
well, no, that's my point. The reason that sometimes she can't understand what I'm thinking is because She's not lived my life, and I've not lived hers, and that's the way that is. And so, from the standpoint of coming up with any other kind of scenario for it, it is what it is. It's not going to change it just because of the fact that you don't like what I have to say or whatever, or sometimes like it or sometimes not like it. So my point of the matter is that at that point in time, just because I don't like it, does that mean that I have the right to silence that other person, tell them not to do this, tell them not to do that? This is the question of the incongruities of life, where you say you can't kill you can't kill this item, baby. If it's a life, it's a life. It's a human, it's a human. But uh, later on, um, the sacrifice of a kid getting shot in a classroom is an acceptable thing. Why is it that you can't kill anything in a womb, but in a classroom, and it's acceptable? It's
Yeah,
acceptable as part of our freedoms, right?
it's the
So
most
therefore,
terrible
yeah,
contradiction, and you're
the
right.
the fact that I have the right to have of a gun, then that that the consequences of me having a gun or somebody having a gun, that right to buy it, it over supersedes the right to of a child in a classroom, or a teacher in a classroom, or whatever. Or if you then get the child, if you get the child murderer and you take him to jail and then you convict him, then you can obviously terminate that person. So you can put the guy to death, but don't tell. I mean, that's what I'm saying. At what point in time does it? It's like this. Okay, well, we're going to wrap you up in cotton wool. We're going to tell you what to do till that baby comes out. But once the baby comes out, freaking all bets are off. We're not going to help you with the cost of having a baby. We're not going to do anything. As a matter of fact, the same people who always are saying you should have this baby are always the ones who are trying to take money away from poor mothers.
Yeah.
It's like, why manufacture hell for other people? Why are you doing it? Is the cruelty the point? Is the cruelty the point? I guess that's what we must have to look at from that standpoint. Is the fact that telling other people what to do and being incredibly cruel to those people the point? Is that what it is? Is it like the Scarlet Letter? Because that's what it feels like in a way. It's like, okay, well, here's the thing. I'm going to tell you what to do till the baby's there, and then because you had sex in a puritanical state, we're going to punish you for 18 years or whatever. It's about crime and punishment. You see, that's what I'm saying. Is it really about the baby, or is it about punishing the mom? I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, divorce isn't illegal in America. Why not? How come nobody's asking for that?
Oh, the thing you mentioned a few minutes ago about the firearms, I've seen a friend of mine, well, one of my best friends in this world, Carrie, a teacher in Louisiana, she showed me a meme that said, America, where your life is protected from conception until kindergarten.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
you can make the joke. You can make the joke that the reason that these people that wanted to outlaw abortion is because the stocks are getting too low for shoot them up in kindergarten. You got to fill the shooting galleries. You know what I mean? It's just like, and I know that's a sick comment to make, but I mean, as a teacher, a person who was a teacher, and as the whole thing goes down to it, knowing that there's and having a kid, and like I said, having a student who shot another student with a gun brought to school, you do feel like that's it. It's a shooting gallery. Why should I mean? As you look at the cases in this Uvalde thing, where they were sitting around. All of them were scared to go in because that's the way it is, even though they all had body armor and everything like that. They could have gone in 9 minutes or something after they showed up, but they fucked around for an hour and a half. Meanwhile, the teachers are in there with nothing, and they're trying to hold it on. Why is it that teachers get paid so little if we're expected to do it? I mean, like if I have military training and all that stuff, I still wouldn't want to carry a gun in the school. I'm gonna put it this way.
No.
But as a person who has shot at other people, been shot at, everything else in that scenario, the school classroom is not a place for a gun. I can just tell you that. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that, yeah, I'm not freaking being your mercenary unless you're paying me $150,000 a year. You think that I'm going to go in there and just decide, okay, yeah, go ahead, let the guy come in and keep on paying me $35,000 a year. I some teachers can't afford a car, but then again, I'm going to buy this, $1,000 handgun and keep it in school. Come on. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I've got to buy crayons for the people in my class because the school doesn't have the budget for that. But here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and have no training. Do you really want people with no training having a pistol in the classroom?
The thought of teachers packing heat, as I read it once, just unbelievable.
Well, Tom,
a lot more school shootings if the teachers.
Well, no, I understand that. It's a false economy to think that's just going to solve the problem. But I mean, this just shows a lack of imagination on the parts of people who really don't know what to do. But I look at it from the standpoint of, Tom, you've taught kids. What is the first thing that kids do when you're out of the classroom or you can't do? They're up and around looking for shit, going through your drawers, looking
about running across chairs and tables. That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point. That's the point. They're doing things that kids do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, so what does this mean that, again, you are going to, have to carry this on your person? So therefore you're standing in the front. I mean, what kind of a message does that send? Whenever I was growing up, there was soldiers and policemen in Northern Ireland with black jackets and body armor and MP5s and stuff like that. Those were regular policemen. Is that how that's going to look in your classroom? You know what I mean? Am I going to be wearing black BDUs and that doesn't smack of any kind of totalitarian system? But am I going to have this sort of thing? And then what happens? No, because and I'll say this: I've known people who have stolen guns off policemen in Northern Ireland during the 1970s, pickpocketed it. So therefore, is that what we're going to do? Is it going to be a situation where people surround you, and then they take the gun off you because there's no way to get it? I mean, like I said, it's just pure fantasy from people who have no life experience. It all sounds good until you actually put yourself in a classroom or put yourself into a war zone and say, this is exactly what it is. And if you've been in a war zone and then been in a classroom, you understand this is the stupidest freaking idea. That's fine. But again, this is one of those things where, of course, it never works out the way that these folks want it to. And this is the law of unintended consequences. And I think that this is one of those situations where the unintended consequences of this, we have no idea what it's going to be at this point in time. I think everybody that is celebrating this doesn't realize, be careful what you wish for, you might get it. is a true scenario. And if you think that people have weighed this out in their mind as far as what's going to happen, I don't know. I see, unfortunately, that there was a subject, there was a study that they did that was like,
Phil
finding
wants to
out
know why you're stretching the situation
who
to the ridiculous.
who
Phil,
is. I am.
yeah,
Who says that I'm stretching it?
Phil.
It's not ridiculous. How is that ridiculous? Does
He says
life?
there's holes in your logic.
There's flaws in my logic. Are there states? Let me ask you a question. Are there states where you can go to jail right now for performing an abortion, having an abortion? Are there states right now where you can uh, be raped or a case of incest and be forced to have a child? That's not a ridiculous scenario. The answer is yes, so it's not ridiculous. I'm sorry. There is no protection against being raped, having incest, or doing anything like. So you tell me how that's normal. You tell me that how that's normal. And you tell me how whenever somebody is raped, has a raped child, that child has got a fair chance in life. You tell me that.
You said you would be wearing body armor if allowed to carry a gun to protect students. I think he's talking about the armed student.
Why wouldn't I be able to? The other person who's coming into the classroom is wearing body armor. Did the other person who had the AK-47 or the AR-15 have body armor?
They usually do, school shooters. I mean,
Yeah.
they pump
Any
themselves up to
mass
9.
shooter anymore is smart enough to know that they can do
Like,
it. So therefore,
what I don't think is right. I've got an unpopular take on this. They always deck themselves up to the nines, right? They've got multiple weapons, usually wearing body armor, school shooters. But 9 out of 10 times, they always shoot themselves. So why are you wearing the armor? That's what
because
I want to know.
the cruelty is the point. The cruelty is the point. They want to kill as many people before they die. That's what it comes down to. So therefore, it's one of those things where if you are a gun owner or gun carrier like I am, or whatever, you have to learn a couple things. One is to shoot everybody in the face. You have to shoot them in the face or shoot them in the femoral artery area, so you know that they're going to bleed out fast. You shoot somebody in the face that can't see you, you're going to kill them. Shoot them in the femoral artery. They're not wearing body armor around that. You totally take out the fact that you go for the trunk of the body anymore. If you're going for center mass, you're an idiot. You double tap them to the head. And that's exactly what they need to figure out. And I don't know who doesn't train these people to do that. But like I said, I've never been in a situation where I've waited around 9 minutes. I've been in a situation where I've had to evacuate people out of a bomb scenario because somebody called a bomb in. And I didn't fucking wait around for an hour and a half. That's the way it is, because you go in. It doesn't matter whether you have a lot of equipment or not. I didn't wait for the bomb squad. I didn't wait for everything else. I was critically injured because of that and was discharged from the Army. So, people can say for whatever they want to that's it's here and there, but I don't have a lot of respect for a lot of people who don't have the idea of this is what I'm going to do. This is what I mean, we all know what we're going to do until you get into the situation of what we actually have to do. You see? So therefore, that's the question. I'm not saying anybody's right or anybody's wrong. Everybody gets afraid to die. I'm terrified to die at some points in time. Terrified. I've been terrified that I was going to be killed. But you still have to do what you're going to do if that's the way that it is. If you swear an oath to your country, if you swear an oath to the people that you protect, if you swear an oath to that, then that's it. That's what you do. Otherwise, you shouldn't be doing it. But then again, I do realize that teachers should not be put in that situation because that's not what they wanted to do. I mean, there's very, very, very few teachers that are in that situation. And again, you're only causing a problem, in my opinion. It's all my opinion. It's all my opinion. I'm no expert on
petty and ill-informed opinions. That's what this show's made for. I love how Phil's not our co-host anymore, but you two still manage to find a way to bicker. It's nostalgic for me.
Well, I look at it from this standpoint. Phil's got a point. Phil's got a point. I'm not saying anybody doesn't have a point. And they would be able to say to me, well, Kevin, you're going on. You're waxing poetic about it. You're going on and everything like that. But this is my point that is going down there when I was talking to Tom. If you have some middle of the road opinion that's not extremist one way or the other, that's the way that is. Now, unfortunately, I'm not the only one who has these opinions. You see what I'm saying? And so even if you listen to the head of the DPS, whenever it has to do with the Texas shooting, he says that their thing was woefully bad in the case of a school shooting. And this is one of those places where they're supposed to be, an expert in these types of things. And so, they had their own police. They had their own police force for the school and everything else. So is that my fault? Because those people who are in the police force have body armor. They have AR-15s. So how am I supposed to say, how is it supposed to be taking it to the unrealistic when the school hires people to do that and they are equipped with that kind of equipment, and otherwise they're saying, well, teachers should be able to carry into the school. So therefore, how is that any different? Why would it be okay for the guy that you're hiring to protect the school to have all that equipment, or the person you're hiring to protect the school, i.e. a teacher, to have that same equipment? Logically, you would say, again, I'm here to protect the school and the students. I should have the same amount of equipment as people who are hired to protect the school should have. How is that a flaw in logic?
That really got you, huh?
Well, I love it. It's always a flaw in logic until, again, you bring logic into it.
Is that like an oxymoron or anything? Man, we've talked about a wide array of topics.
Everybody's 12 until they're 12.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's going to be the tagline of
all
every show.
All people who are 12 have been...
Everybody was 12 years old
when they were 12. Just remember that. It's a truism in life.
Is that going to be on your tombstone or
yes,
your epitaph?
I'll make sure of it. I will absolutely 100% make sure of that. That is on Kevin's tombstone. Everybody was 12 when they were 12.
And I'm not saying Phil doesn't have a right to his opinion and everything like that. And I'm not saying that my opinion is more valid than Phil's. I'm just saying that that's my opinion. And it's not about right or wrong. My point of the matter is that it's just my opinion. We live in a country with people who are allowed to have opinions. And that's my point. If anything, not what I'm against is people not being able to have an opinion.
Absolutely. So, everybody has the right to speak their mind. Everybody has the right to their own opinion. It's just, when people start legislating it, that's...
Well, that's it, isn't it? Exactly. Whenever they legislate what your opinion is or their opinion is or whatever, now that's one of those things where you can't get a right answer. Again, I don't know the right answer. I don't know. So if you don't know, what do? That's the question. If you don't know, how do you handle that scenario? Do you say we shouldn't do it at all, or you should do it? There's people make that arguments about everything. Should you get a vaccination? Should you be able to smoke marijuana? Should you be able to do this? Should you be able to do that? Now, some people will say, well, evidence says you can't do this, or it will do that, or it won't. I mean, but at the same point in time, it's the should you, shouldn't you question.
Should you, should you? I heard it explained to me perfectly once when somebody asked me once, should people be allowed to wear swastikas and display them openly? And I said, yes, they absolutely should. If people only wanted the good stuff, you wouldn't need the First Amendment.
Correct. Right. What I'm saying is, but that's the point with a lot of these people who are not over the top happy about the fact that, women can't have an abortion were the same people who said, I am not going to have a vaccination. That's what I'm talking about from that standpoint. So I'm forced to do this. That's wrong. But I'm going to force you to do this, and that's right.
That's just life, Kevin. What's good for everybody else is not good for me.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. A lot of it is not a moral issue. It's I fucking own you. I own your ass on this one issue. It's a tit for the tat. That's what I'm saying. Again, if we're going to have a biblical state where this is the case, let's do away with. I mean, let's talk about the fact that a lot of these people who say, oh, this is a crime against God and everything like that, have a lot of them, including people who are like ministers, have been divorced 4 or 5 times. Is that not a crime against God? Says it is in the Bible.
Which Bible though? They changed.
Well, pretty much it says that, and if you're talking about any version of the Christian Bible, divorce is a big freaking deal. You know what I mean? It's a big, big sin against God.
And I would see, because adultery is also a sin. So if you're trapped in a marriage where you're unhappy and you look elsewhere, then you're sinning there. So you can't get divorced. You can't cheat on her. So you're stuck in this miserable relationship.
Right. That's what I'm saying is that a lot of following the Bible is pure misery for a lot of people.
Oh, it certainly was for me when I was a Christian.
The opinions of Kevin are not necessarily...
No.
We're not shitting on the Christian faith.
No, I'm not. Believe me, I was raised a Presbyterian. There's no way you can be inculcated or indoctrinated into that and not feel, an affinity for it. That's one of those things where it's like, okay, you can't take a kid since the minute of sort of self-awareness to a church until they're 18 and not have that affect their upbringing and their abilities to have any sort of idea about anything. See what I'm saying? So
that's the other big thing. We should talk about that as well before I forget.
What?
Gabby just reminded me. Ukraine was granted provisional membership to the EU this week.
Oh, they were?
Mm-hmm.
But not NATO.
But not NATO, but to the EU.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is pushing us one step closer to World War III. So, no.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Oh, come on. Putin's not going to back down.
Not necessarily. It just means that people in the EU have their... what it means is, from the standpoint of that, in my opinion, is people in Europe and Ukraine have the ability to move and work very, very quickly in other parts of the EU. If you think about it, it's just what we were doing before on steroids. You're not taking these people as refugees anymore. You're taking them as people who can go and work right away. In other words, the amount of people that can then travel to other areas just right off the bat and start working actually has gone up. So in order to that, it doesn't do anything about the borders of the Ukraine, obviously. The Russians are going to basically take over the eastern part of Ukraine. Everybody knows that. We don't know when they'll stop, if they'll ever stop.
They're not going to stop.
Yeah. So in other words...
Cuba was a new USSR. He's going to start with Ukraine and move down Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic and Slovakia.
Yeah, but
All them border countries are going to be absorbed.
I don't know about that. If they were a NATO country during Article 6, they would have to be that you would have to act. Article 6 in the NATO treaty says if a NATO member is attacked like that.
All right, Kevin. I'm going to agree. I'm going to bottom line this for you. Did the EU tell Putin he was not allowed to invade Ukraine?
I don't know. I would imagine they did.
They did. They told him in no certain terms, no, you can't do that. Did he invade Ukraine?
Right. But is the EU a political and economic body and not a military one? Absolutely. So that's like sort of saying, you know, that's like me being put you know, putting a chair, you know, somebody comes into my house, ties me up onto a chair, and then I say to them, don't steal anything. I mean, I have no teeth. I have no ability to defend myself at that point in time. It's like, yeah, don't do that. It's like a paper tiger, you see. If people in NATO would have said, hey, listen, you invade Ukraine, we're going to fucking invade your ass, that would have been a totally different scenario. We never threatened them with anything as far as reprisals. Now, if you would have gotten to the situation where you would have said, I mean, we're still not allowing, you know, and this is the point that sucks for Ukraine, because we talked them into, again, getting rid of their nuclear missiles. We said, if you get rid of your nuclear missiles, we'll defend you. Right? This is the only reason that we're there, right? Because we feel bad about the fact that we said to them, we'll take away your missiles. Give us your gun. I mean, this is the whole sort of argument that we have is, you know, okay, give us your gun, give us your weapons, we'll defend you. And you see how well that works out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to. I can guarantee you now, if Ukraine was a separate country and didn't and had nuclear missiles, they wouldn't be being invaded right now. So, in my opinion, what we should do is America should just say, America, France, and you know, Britain should say, okay, here's 2 nuclear missiles from each of us. So you have 6. Have at it. You know, so now they have 6. They have 6 nuclear missiles on Ukrainian soil that's under the control of Zelensky. I would be surprised if the Russians weren't gone the next day.
Right. You think?
Well, who knows? Who cares? If you're going to go to, I look at it like this, brother. If I'm going to go through World War III, I'd rather it be quick and over with. Just freaking end it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I guess I'm at that stage.
I don't want a long, prolonged war.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Yeah, it's something that I don't dread, because if it happens, the chances are it'll be, you know, what's that film, When the Wind Blows?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be over real quick for you, John.
Maybe as a final note, has anyone seen the film where it's an animated Raymond Briggs film, like in the style of the Snow, Where the Wind Blows? It's
really sad. But
it's terrible, but absolutely brilliant.
It is sad, but I mean, it's the same thing about the whole thing about it is I bet you if you would have asked people who fought in the First World War, would you rather go through this or just have it over with? They would have just said, just had it over with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were bloody trench warfare, the stupidest idea for warfare in all of mankind.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, the fact that the fact that we go through this and say, okay, you know, as the world changes, right, and we all become increasingly more depressed. I was watching this thing about, you know, millennial kids and how many of them are just absolutely depressed. You know what I mean? 50% of them have sort of huge mental issues. I think that went from 1/4 of the population to 50%. Um, at this rate, how long is it before everybody on Earth is freaking miserable? You know what I mean? I mean, it was like 125 degrees Fahrenheit in Tehran last week. Can you believe that? Um, I can't imagine people are going to be that much happy and the planet that much. I mean, every time I look at it, it's like, okay, it's like over 100 degrees in in Spain and everything like that. You got to really wonder how long the planet's going to be that livable anyway. I mean, Tom. I mean,
Oh, don't open. We're 11 minutes overdue already.
no, I understand, but I'm saying
of climate change.
Richard is in the
now.
right spot because I bet
No.
you in 15 years he'll be able to grow palm trees.
No.
I'm sure we can pick this up next week, Kevin.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying.
Yeah, it's time to wrap things up.
Yeah.
We will return next week despite the hopes of many. We've had a nice chat tonight. Discuss Roe v. Wade, school shootings, Ukraine, and of course the super important information that after decades of anguish, John Hinckley Jr. was released. So that's a win. That's a win for America.
Absolutely,
good night, guys.
All I'm going to say is for this: don't attack other people for having. Talk it out. You can get heated. Phil and I always get heated, and like I said, that's one of the things. But it's not a question of Phil being wrong and me being right, or the vice versa, in my opinion. And I think Phil's that way too.
Good night, Kevin.
All right.
Bloody hell! When did Tom grow a spine? That wraps up for this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of penning. It's good stuff. I can't. That was awesome.